In stark contrast to the openness of the Russians, the British Ministry of Defence are still denying an incident that happened in 1980 here at the Woodbridge Joint British-American Air Force Base. This was one of the busiest military air bases in the United Kingdom. Its activities were highly secret, and it held one of NATO's largest nuclear weapons stockpiles. It was in the early hours of December the 28th that two teams of base security officers left the East Gate to investigate strange lights in the forest. One team included the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Holt, and in the other group was Larry Waren, then aged 19.
I'm standing in Rendlesham Forest, where on December 28th to 29th, 1980, just behind me, Colonel Holt and a group of NCOs and officers had their sighting of events, which is recorded on the tape that he made that night, about a quarter mile that way. My event took place right here, heading toward this farmer's field. I had no idea what was about to happen. No one else with me really did at that time at all, except that this field in front of me was illuminated with some very bright, strange light. I noticed that this giant oak tree here was illuminated as well. That was my first indication that something wasn't right in the field.
As standard procedure, Lieutenant Colonel Holt was tape recording his team's progress through the forest. As they measured radiation levels, they spotted something through the trees. The voices you hear are from the actual tape. The pictures are a reconstruction. As Holt and his team were moving towards the light, Larry Waren and the others saw a curious circle of mist in the field in front of them.
Out in front of me, as we approached, I could see, as I was watching this mist on the ground, there was other Air Force personnel, security police, all throughout this field. Over in the distance was two cameras, and one was a video camera, one was a motion picture camera, and at the time the video cameras were very bulky technology, but I recognized it for what it was. Everything I saw in this field was documented on film that night, both on still photographs and on motion picture. There's no doubt about it. What I saw, I'll walk to the center of the area where this mist was. You can see it clearly. Ground zero would be here. After watching this object on the ground, a red ball of light moved in. I thought it was an A-10 taxiing to RAF Woodbridge behind me, about a mile. Came in over that far stand of trees, stopped over the circular fog-like object on the ground, dispersed in an explosion of color that was soundless, heatless, and what happened was a transformation, somehow, of this mist to a structured object. It was about 30 feet at the base, 20 feet in height, and a bank of blue lights at the base of it, and mother of pearl or rainbow effect over it. It was very difficult to look directly at. The worst thing that happened to me was that when the event transpired, when there was that transformation, somehow, some senior people ran off into these woods, into these fields, and left us here. And why I didn't run could have been shock or whatever, but a number of us ran, a number of us just stayed glued.
were not the only ones witnessing the events. From his house near the runway, local resident Jerry Harris watched the strange lights around the forest.
I stood there for ages. It seemed like ages watching it, and they were dipping down behind the trees. They were going down behind the trees and coming back up again, and sort of zigzagging about. And I thought, mate, if they were airplanes, they would crash into the forest because the runway's over there and they were over there. I heard these noises over the base. I heard voices shouting, and I couldn't hear what they were saying because of the distance. But I could hear that the wind was in my direction. And also then I heard vehicles start up and sort of drive off.
Well, I imagine anyone could have made this up if they were very imaginative. However, I don't know why someone would have chosen to make it up and then carry it on for 14 years when we all have certainly bills to pay, lives to live, other interests, you know. I don't think anyone could make this up. Not the evidence. Actually, you could remove me from the story and you still have a story there. It's just not going to go away. This one will never go away.
A strict security clampdown, denials and other explanations quickly followed the incident. Orford Ness Lighthouse, 6 miles distant, was one. Others included meteorites, police cars and bright stars. The alleged films and photographs have never been released, but one abiding piece of evidence remains. Lieutenant Colonel Holt's report, authenticated as genuine by the British Ministry of Defence. It was released 3 years later through pressure from Warren and others, using the American Freedom of Information Act.
I wasn't there at the time of the Woodbridge sighting, so I can't be sure what happened. It may well be that no explanation was found for what happened that night, but when we find no evidence of a threat, our involvement ends, so something can be unexplained, but not necessarily lead to any further official work.
Despite government pronouncements, one man whose views cannot be ignored is Lord Peter Hill Norton, Admiral of the Fleet and Britain's former Chief of Defence Staff in the early 1970s.
It seems to me that something physical took place. I have no doubt that something landed at this US Air Force base, and I have no doubt that it got the people concerned, the US Air Force people and the commanding general at the base, into a very considerable state. My view is that the Ministry of Defence, who were repeatedly questioned about this, not only by me but by other people, have doggedly stuck to their normal line, which is that nothing which was of defence interest took place on that occasion. My position about this has always been quite clear, and I have said this both in public and on the television and on the radio, and I said it face to face to Lord Trent-Garn when we met. Either large numbers of people, including the commanding general at Bentwaters, were hallucinating, and for an American Air Force nuclear base this is extremely dangerous, or what they say happened did happen. And in either of those circumstances there can only be one answer, and that is that it was of extreme defence interest to the United Kingdom. And I have never had a satisfactory rebuttal of that view.